Hey guys, it's Kate and I hope you're having a great day. I am here with my gouache, and what I did was I wanted to try drying it in some pans and then re-wetting it and working it. So what I just did was did some swatches here on the left page in my sketchbook. Now, one thing to note with the gouache is it's a little bit more transparent because you don't get that thick creamy layer like you do out of the tube. But I wanted to do just a quick little sketch on this side. So I broke out my pencil and I just did a little house and some whimsical trees and shrubs, and you can see it's just very, very doodly. But I want to use this as a base and experiment with these colors and color mixing and just see how it goes. So I hope that you will join me today. Now, the sketchbook I'm working in is not really made for wet media, so I'm going to be kind of testing that out a little bit too. But I'm going to start by blocking in some of the elements, and I don't want to overlap too much with the wetness. So I'm going to start first with my sky, and I'm using a plastic palette here, and I'm just going to start blocking in some of these elements. And I'm not going to go perfectly in with my paper edges. I'm going to kind of have a messy border probably, but it's just going to be a nice little experiment. So I'm just going to go through here and paint pretty quickly, and I like how the gouache goes down. It seems to reactivate pretty well in my pan, which is good. I haven't like sprayed these or anything. I'm just kind of activating them as I go, but I did wet them a little bit for my swatches that I did on the other sheet. So I'm just going to kind of make it maybe a little bit blendy, and just go with the texture that we have here for the gouache. So I have a little bit of sky over here beyond my bushes and a little bit right here. And then we've got our tree trunks and such. Now for my house itself, I want to have it kind of like a whitish sort of gray blue, very light colored compared to the rest of the gouache painting. So I just took the leftover of my blue that I have right here. I added just a little bit of this burnt sienna, and the rest of it is white. You can see I have kind of this nice little gray blue color here, and then I'm going to be able to layer this also, but I like this as a base coat because it's gonna look really bright compared to the rest once we get down the rest of our layers. And I'm just working with my watercolor brush. This is a Princeton Aqua Elite. It is a number 8 round, and I gave these brushes a try, and I really like it. So I've been using these a lot for my watercolors, and so now I get to try it out with gouache. And these are going down kind of thin like watercolors, but I think they'll be buildable layers, and you can kind of thicken them up also if you want. And I'm just running with being able to blend over here. So this is kind of a fun way to use these. I'm going to get a little bit of black and darken this up and do my little tree trunk over here, just like that. And then I've got another tree trunk over here. And then I'm going to use the rest of this to do my little path. And this might be like a little 10-minute gouache. All right, I'm going to grab some of this Viridian and I'm going to mix it right in with what I've got there. And I've got this very basic tree shape here. And I'm going to add some white to this, lighten it up quite a bit. I think the only thing that's going to be weird is using the white here because it's going to get contaminated pretty quickly unless I rinse my brush every single time I grab it, which I suppose I could do, but I don't like doing that much. All right, I'm going to add some yellow here to really warm up this green, and I'm going to work on this tree right here. And so far, this is a pretty fun way to use this color. I'm wondering how it's going to be, more buildable, but this is a different way of working on it for sure. All right, I'm going to grab some white and do some little lighter shrubs over here and maybe a nice little light one right here. And I'm going to add some of this blue, and I'm going to do this other one here in the background. Well, it's really like a tall, narrow tree. Add a little bit of this viridian. I might darken this up a little bit so we have a little bit more contrast here. And that really kind of solidifies the color, doesn't it? I'm going to add some of this green and just keep this pile going. And we'll get some of our shrubbies here. And I'm just sort of picking some spots where I can use these colors so that they're not all next to each other, but I can still get a decent variety of greens for the painting and put these colors to the test. All right, I'm going to add some of this ultramarine in here, some more viridian, and what the heck, let's just grab some of that yellow green too. So we have a nice rich green here. I'm going to start working on my grass, my little grassy lawn area. And then I'm going to take some of this blue and mix it in. Rinse my brush. I don't want to contaminate all my colors. I'm going to grab some of this yellow and do this other tree over here. And this kind of goes behind the house. And then I'll grab that same color and do a couple of these little shrubs and use up that green that's in there. Grab that burnt sienna and do our front door. And then I'm going to mix that burnt sienna with what's left over, that green, and I'm going to add a little bit of black to it to darken it up. And I'm going to start adding in some details. Now here I'm going to work on adding a few little roof shingles just using the point of my brush. Just like that. So we've got a little bit of detail there. And I'm going to grab my smaller brush now, pick up a little more of that dark color, and I'm going to add some windows. This is kind of cute so far. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of detail to my walkway here, a little dark line, and just some texture. A little doorknob. Add a little bit of outlining to my tree. And so this is just going to give me a little bit more of a border and definition. I kind of like having the outlines here. To me, it just kind of helps bring some of this stuff together, especially since I've got so many different greens here. I kind of like having just something. Now I'm going to go into my white. I'm going to see about adding some clouds in the sky. A couple of basic ones. Now I can go into my viridian. And I'm going to start adding some texture to these little trees and stuff. So I'm going to start with this one here. And I'm just going to go through and add some of these little swirly marks. And I might add those right here and just make this very cute and folksy. I'm going to choose a different green. I'm going to go for this yellow green for this one. For this dark one, I'm going to go into this ultramarine. I think that's a nice contrast. And I'm just sort of picking a green that's slightly darker than the one that I've got painted there. So I'm just choosing out of my little palette here, and I'm just adding little textures to each of these spots. Now I'm going to go back into this white. I'm going to brighten up these windows a bit. Add a few little lines to my door, and I might also do a little bit of that on my roof. And then I'm going to go into this black again and maybe mix it with a little bit of this burnt sienna. And I'm just going to add some simple lines to my tree trunks and kind of look at what I've got going on here. And I feel like I want something a little bit more yellowy, just to really warm things up some more. So I might add a little bit of a yellow glaze to this yard, and I'm letting it reactivate that green underneath so we can get it nice and bright and sunny looking. And I think I like that. It just gives it a little bit of a change, but not so much that it just goes nuts. So adding in this sort of moist yellow just helps it blend with that green underneath. The last thing I might do with this is add just a few little red flowers. So I'm just activating that red a little bit, and I'm going to put in just a few little flowery areas. In this little front yard, and one maybe like a little flower bed or something here by the door. And I'll grab this same brush and dip it into my black a bit and just do a few little lines like they could be stems or something coming up. Not doing a lot, just a couple, just to give the illusion. And then I think that's going to be it for this little sketchbook page. But it was a fun, cute little project today and very simple. Anyway, hope you joined with me today. Hope you enjoyed this one. Very easy to do. Takes about 20 minutes of time. If that, you can make it even simpler. But hope you enjoyed this today. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you like this one, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Until next time, keep creating.